Hello everybody, this is JW Najarian and we're at the National Association of Realtors Conference in Anaheim, California, 2011, and we're here with Dave Cattell and JC Connell. And you guys are the executives at NewDirt, is that correct?
We're among the executives at NewDirt, yes.
Among the executives, right. There you go. Right. So you're actually, this is your idea, this is your...
Something I thought of way back in the mid-90s, but back then the internet wasn't what it is today, and technology just wouldn't have supported this back then.
Okay, so why don't you tell us, Dave, about NewDirt and what it does?
NewDirt is a website that streamlines the site submittal process for commercial sites from brokers, listing agents, to end users or brands in the retail, restaurant, lodging categories.
That's great. And what do you do with the company, JC?
I do a little bit of everything, from business development, bringing on the brands, to telling our story to the brokers, going to the trade shows and things like this, all the way down to finances.
Great. And NewDirt, you're working with retailers, you're working with brokers. How is this good for the broker?
It's good for the broker because it really streamlines their process. It's a productivity tool. They can put in their site attributes of a listing that they have. We show them within our universe of brands which ones have a strong correlation in terms of their site criteria. So a broker can put information in one time, we help them identify who would be interested in their site, and we provide a means for them to directly send it into the hands of the person who will be reviewing it. So what we say is we get the right sites to the right people at the right time.
That's great. And how is this helpful to the retailer?
Well, on the corporate side, in the retail, restaurant, lodging categories, it's important because they get a lot of sites submitted, and it really helps. It's kind of a screening tool, frankly. Brokers are likely to send stronger sites that meet their criteria. For brands, it's really all about site criteria. They know where they want to be, and they know what they need. But they receive so many sites that just don't remotely meet their criteria. They take up a lot of time reviewing them, and what they really want to do is narrow it down and look at the sites that I say that have legs.
Right, and this is your brainchild, Dave. What made you, when you thought about this, what was the catalyst that made NewDirt come along?
Well, I was Vice President of Restaurant Development at KFC USA in Louisville, and I would come back from my weekly road trips, and there would be a stack of proposals on the corner of my desk for me to review, and really 90% of them went pretty much straight into the trash because they just didn't meet our basic criteria. No one had taken the time to look at it. Maybe 10% would be shipped out to the field for further review. Then I'd say maybe 1 out of 100 we'd have some serious interest in. So I said there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way for the brokers to save them a lot of money instead of printing up and mailing fancy brochures, calling, leaving messages, faxing us messages. Nowadays they're sending out email blasts. But the stuff is, it's just like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's just not very efficient. And so I wanted to, improve life for both sides. I think that in the old days they'd say find a need and fill it. Well, nowadays I think you've got to find the pain and cure it. Right. And so what I wanted to do was find the pain for the corporate side and address it, and then find the pain on the brokerage side, which is generally related to not knowing who would want the site, not knowing how to reach them, and then not hearing back an answer. And I wanted to cure their pain as well. And I felt like if we could address the pain on both sides, and nobody else has ever done that we would have a viable business model that would stand the test and would get rapid adoption, I think.
Okay, you said something to me that was interesting earlier about there's a lot of offices out there that are not quite fully commercial, and this really helps some of the smaller offices work better in the commercial industry, is it not?
Right. Well, what I've heard here, there's 19,000 people at this convention, and probably 17 or 18,000 of them are residential, and a lot of them are what they refer to as res-com agents, where they end up being in a smaller town, Muncie, Indiana, or something, that they really don't have full-time commercial brokers, and they end up doing both residential and commercial. But their problem is they usually don't have extensive contacts in corporate America. So even if they can think about who would be there, they don't know how to reach them. What NewDirt allows them to do is to put in the attributes of the sites they have a listing on, figure out who needs to be there, and then be able to send it with a click. And they can really choose up any number of matches and send it all at one time. And then basically it's like planting your garden. Then you monitor the lettuce and see when the crop is ready, you can pick it.
And JC, you were telling me earlier about all the criteria. Can you go into a little, because there's a lot of stuff that you guys cover.
Absolutely. We call ourselves the Match.com for commercial real estate. We take the brands that come on board with us and upload their site criteria and geographic areas of expansion interest. When a broker signs on board with us, they create an account, they upload their sites and the attributes of their sites. The attributes of each site are compared to the criteria of the brands expanding in that area, and then a rating is provided on a star scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the best match. Through this system, they're immediately allowed to submit a site directly to a decision maker of the brand.
That's great.
One other thing I might mention is for a franchisor, somebody like, let's say, a Chick-fil-A that doesn't operate currently in all 50 states. If they decide to go to a new state, say the state of Oregon, and if they've previously not done any business there, one of their challenges is to get the word out that they're now interested in Oregon. They may go to like an ICSC deal-making session and get a table and pass out cards, but there's not a real efficient way for them to do that. What's kind of interesting about NewDirt is they can log on and they control their own account. They use our territory selection tool, and with really a click of a mouse, they can enable this whole state of Oregon instantly and save it, and within minutes, if a broker in Oregon had a site that matched their criteria, it could be flowing to Chick-fil-A. So it really allows franchisors to open up new areas of development very quickly. And we've had another brand talk to us and say, gee, sometimes we don't have a franchisee for a market, but we know we want to be in that market, say Waterloo, Iowa. And what happens is if they receive a site from a broker in Waterloo, they can reach back to the broker and say, hey, we really like Waterloo. We believe the demographics are strong in Waterloo. We want to be in Waterloo. We just don't have a franchise, in tow. What happens is the broker then realizes that he's, just a new franchisee away from a commission check. So he starts thinking about, okay, who do I know here that, has somebody that's interested in being in this business? Maybe I can hook them up. So in a way, some of these brands essentially have boots on the ground in Waterloo that they didn't have before, helping them think about how do we expand in that market. So really, the response we've gotten has been particularly strong from franchisors. And really, when you look at it today, most companies, particularly restaurant companies, are using franchisees to grow their businesses rather than doing it with their own company operations.
That's great. And we can get a hold of you at NewDirt.com. Also, you have a couple sites that you'd like people to take a look at, because there's for the broker, corporate, and an interview with you. Could you tell me about that?
Sure. There's 3 different URLs they can go to. There's a 2-minute animation that gives an overview from the corporate perspective, and it's called www.newdirt.com/animation. The second one is really how a corporate person would use NewDirt. It's about 7 minutes long, and it's the same address, only in this case it's /corporate. And then the third case, there's about a 6.5-minute interview with frequently asked questions that was done with me and a former editor of Nation's Restaurant News, and it is /interview. Those 3, /animation, corporate, and interview, really in about 15 minutes time answers just about all the questions people would have about NewDirt.
That's wonderful. Anyway, this is J.W. Najarian with J.C. Connell and Dave Cattell. Thank you guys very much.
Absolutely. Pleasure meeting you.
All right.